Good evening, folks. It's Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Today, early voting began. So, how's it looking? Let's go over early voting and who are the candidates, a little bit about them, and some other election information. Join me, folks.
I don't think you were.
Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Happy Saturday. Hope you're all doing well. Early voting. How many of you have gone out to vote already? And who are you voting for? Let's talk about it. Pardon me as I share this really quick on other pages. I want to also go over the Ruth Walter and James Nolan debate. That was an interesting one. It got a bit, fiery. The debate. They were really going at it. I mean, the moderator had to actually calm them down and warn them not to go at each other, not to insult each other, not to attack each other, folks. Good evening. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Happy Saturday. It's early voting began today. So did you go out and vote? I know I have not yet. I will be, but I have been reminding people to make sure to go vote, folks. First, I want to talk about a few things here. We'll get into that Ruth Walter and James Nolan debate that got fiery. So again, early voting has begun tomorrow, Sunday, October 29th, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I have that list up there if you want to check out the other times. So destruction of property, in Yonkers, we know that politics is really dirty. It can get very nasty. People go low. They go below the belt. They attack families. And they also get physical and destroy property. And so today I'm hearing that CSCA President Alberto Velasquez was caught removing a sign for Jose Diaz, who's running against Jose Alvarado. Jose Alvarado and Alberto Velasquez are friends. They posted pictures, they're cigar buddies. Jose Alvarado, Alberto Velasquez, and that Yonkers voice guy hang out a lot. And so he's most definitely supporting Jose Alvarado. He was also at the Chima Center, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, with a whole bunch of people, right? Alberto brought a lot of his guys, and Jose Alvarado also brought his family and friends there to support. And so he was caught ripping down a sign from a private business. He walked into the business, saw the sign up there, and then took it down. And it upset the business owner, and he made him put it back up. He said, "Put the sign back up. What are you doing? How do you just come into my business and take something off my wall and then throw it in the garbage?" So he made Alberto Velasquez put it back up. But that's the kind of thing that we see a lot here in the city when it comes to politics, people taking down other people's signs. It's not the first time that I've spoken about this election cycle. I know that some of Nick Speranza's signs were getting taken down. Debbie Kozak's signs have been taken down. This is dirty politics. This is not necessary. It's very childish, and I don't see the need for it. And for a grown man like Alberto Velasquez, who's also the CSEA president, a union that Jose Diaz himself is in, right? So Jose Diaz is a member of this union. You would think that Alberto would be supporting him, considering that not much has changed in District 17. Look at Elm Street, Nodine Hill needs a lot of work. And it's starting to change because the investors are buying up the properties there, and they're raising the rents by $1,000 even. One woman said that exactly what happened to her. And she lives in the No Dine Hill section. So now she's looking for an apartment. The rents are going up in the worst section of Yonkers because investors are there now. So what is Jose Alvarado doing? He's been there for a while, and it's time for change. People are calling for change. Business owners there are calling for change. So Jose Diaz, Jose Diaz is the guy you should vote for, District 17, right? And so Alberto Velasquez, CSA president, going around to tearing down Jose Diaz's sign, a member in the union that he is a president of. I mean, if you want to support Jose Alvarado, cool, right? You don't have to support Jose Diaz simply because you are he's in your union, right? But give the man some respect. Don't tear down his signs. He doesn't have big money developers and other special interests that have lots of money investing in him and funding his campaign. He's paying for that out of his own pocket. And on top of that, he's got a grievance that you are delaying, in which he should have been paid already for doing the work that he's supposed to be paid for according to his contract. And as the president, you can go to political events, but you can't make sure that his grievance is settled and that he's paid the money he's owed. And you're going to go tear down his sign. Talk about another Latino tearing down another Latino. Signs up everywhere, folks. I posted that up. Merante, shame on you. Shame on you. You can go to any location in Yonkers for early voting. Will they have my name? If not, how do we know where we can go? It's not clear. You can go really quick to any of these places. They should have your name that's listed here on this, and I'll go back to it real quick. And if you want, you can take a look at it later. Early voting dates and times below. Yonkers locations are Will Library, No Dine Hill Community Center, and the Yonkers Riverfront Library. And so these are the times that they will be open for voting. And so anyone can go to those different locations. Doesn't matter if, that's not your normal polling place during early voting. On November 7th, you have to go to your poll, it's weird how that works. Why do they do it that way? Why not just make that be the case throughout the election, right? Or maybe it is. Anthony Merante received a letter from the city of Yonkers, the attorneys, because he was campaigning on city property, right? This is what the letter stating. Anthony Merante went to a DPW garage and he was handing out cookies to the DPW guys. And he wanted them to know that he supports the unions. He's not against the unions. Well, why did he feel the need to do that? Because there was a rumor going around, and I say a rumor because I don't know for a fact since I didn't hear it, but I was being told that, again, Mr. Alberto Velasquez was telling union members that Anthony Merante did not support the unions. So this Alberto Velasquez guy plays dirty politics. He'll tear down your signs, and he'll go around lying on you. This is the president of CSEA. And he'll attempt to run you off the road if you have your kids in the car. And so he's going around saying that Merante doesn't support the unions, hoping that the 1,500 members of CSEA 9169 will be upset with Merante and vote for, Spano because he doesn't support the unions. Well, he does, and he's making it clear. And so he went over there to DPW guys to let them know, and he received a letter from the city of Yonkers, the attorneys. They said, you cannot be campaigning on city property, right? Well, he should have just gone to say, I support you guys. I want to say thank you. And I think that's what he essentially was doing. But I guess maybe it had there was some campaign literature along with it. I'm not sure. That's Merante there in his office. He supports the unions. Right, this is the letter here. It has come to our attention that you and a member of your campaign were electioneering very early this morning at the City of Yonkers Service Center, located at 1130 Nepperhan Avenue, disrupting operations of the Department of Public Works. More specifically, while in a non-public area of the service center designated for DPW employee use only, you stopped city refuse vehicles attempting to exit the facility and handed the employees campaign literature and other campaign items and or communicated with the employees concerning your candidacy. Please be advised that with very limited exceptions, such as city parks, electioneering within inter alia non-public areas of city property is prohibited. Accordingly, it is expected that your campaign will cease and desist from engaging in such activities in the future. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation. Sincerely, Matt Gallagher, who always says hello to me. Hi, Matt. How you doing? But Matt, I got a question for you. What about certain other individuals that I've seen on city property essentially campaigning, right? When they're, having, these events where they bring people from the community up into City Hall or near City Hall, or they'll go to a grand opening, right? Is that maybe not, they're on city time, right? They're employees also, but they're running for office. So they're campaigning on city time. What about that? Like they're getting paid and they're campaigning. I don't know. It's just a whole lot of mess, right, Matt? Just let them be, Matt. Just let them be. Come on, man. Don't do no political stuff, Matt. You're an attorney. And keep it to the law. Keep it to the legal me. This is check out Jafar from the Aladdin cartoon.
Hey, seniors, how's everybody doing today?
Senior Halloween party there. Again, Mike Spano, who's running for re-election against Anthony Merante.
Guys, enjoying the party? I was surprised today to have a really special guest.
That doesn't look like
she
me.
surprised me today. She's going to be 90 years old. She wanted to be here today. So
that's Mrs. Spano. She turned 90 years old. She was there at the event. That's Loretta Spano, the mayor's sister, who I met the other day at the senior event. I didn't speak to Mrs. Spano, though, but there goes the mayor, his mom there.
give it up for my mom, Josephine. Thank you.
There goes Sweaty Betty in the background.
Let's have some fun, everybody.
This was a really dope event. So I thought it was cool. They decorated very nicely. It was very lit up and colorful. I thought it was an awesome event. All politics stuff aside, it's good to just be community, right? I mean, maybe I'm just a dreamer like John Lennon. Imagine if all the people in Yonkers could just get along, regardless of your political views, right? But unfortunately, it's not the case. But it seemed that way here. Everybody was getting along and talking. And at one point, I spoke with Eleanor Spano, who was also speaking to Jose Diaz, and he didn't recognize who she was. And so he was saying some things. I was like, he doesn't know who she is, right? I thought it was very funny. But, she was very nice, and she said nice things to Jose. And so, can we all just get along, right? Can we all just get along? But no, we cannot, because it's political silly season. This is by Ron Mattin in the Yonkers Ledger. In the words of Yonkers Inspector General, it's political silly season. He's referring to Liam McLaughlin. While this quote deflected charges of cronyism and nepotism associated with the Spano Friends and Family Network, it is an appropriate portrayal of elections in Yonkers. And this is an opinion piece by Ron Mattin. As we approach early voting, it is evident that Mike Spano and his handlers have created the most magnificent fantasy worthy of an Oscar. It must be the reason Mayor Mike calls Yonkers Hollywood on the Hudson. Nothing is real, and the scripts are written in Colonial Heights. Recently, Mayor Spano appeared at a candidates' night for the Hyatt Association. The mayor told the audience that he has never been in favor of term limits. However, during his debate before winning his first election to mayor, he said that with term limits, you get member empowerment. Clearly, he was never in favor of term limits for Mike Spano. I guess term limits only matter when Phil Amacone or John Spencer is at the helm. At the same meeting, Mike Spano addressed another criticism. An audience member reminded him that he stood in front of the Hyatt Association in the summer of 2022 and told the group an inconvenient truth. Guys, he quotes the mayor saying, "I am tired. I think it's time. We now have the opportunity to embrace a new mayor." He claimed that this statement was made during COVID, and he realized he had unfinished work. In the summer of 2022, we were well out of COVID. The fourth term proposal did not appear until November 2022. It could be that the Spano family had not groomed had not groomed a successor who could be trusted to protect the friends and family network and the $2 billion in federal, state, and local funding. A day earlier, there was a Crestwood community meeting at the Annunciation School. I'm sorry if the meetings featured Mayor Mike Spano and Councilmember Breen. The purpose of the meeting was to address the persistent flooding, the proposed gas line, and playground renovation. Unfortunately, Councilmember Breen was a no-show. Breen's office further declined to offer a comment. The meeting was well attended, and the residents were clearly angry with the administration's lack of action. Essentially, the mayor punted to his federal colleagues. He empathetically encouraged the audience to write Congressman Bowman and request funding for Yonkers. Yes, Mike Spano is asking for help from the man he said should be arrested for his vote. At the same meeting, Councilmember Anthony Merante told Mike Spano that Yonkers needs to find an interim solution. It was clearly a difficult meeting for the mayor and his team, but you cannot cure 12 years of inaction in a 120-minute meeting. Developers received permission to build 40-story skyscrapers where only mid-rise buildings have stood, evidently because the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals become packed with inexperienced political cronies. Consequently, no plans have been presented which have received community approval. The mayor has received over $700,000 in contributions from developers. How many current residents will have the opportunity to afford one of these luxury apartments? How many current residents will actually score a job with Lionsgate? In 12 years, has Mike Spano really improved your life? It is no wonder that there must be a fourth term without a referendum by the people. Mike Spano has a multi-million-dollar taxpayer-funded media machine at his disposal. The city spends over $500,000 a year with Thompson and Bender. Mike Spano has hired a veteran reporter, Lisa Reyes, to add a professional touch to his misinformation. With all of Mayor Spano's rented style and professionalism, residents are starting to see through his propaganda. Yonkers serves the few at the expense of the many. And that's, again, an opinion piece by Ron Matton. I'm not sure. I don't think that reflects the opinion. I just want to say it, of the Yonkers Ledger and Basement Politics, although you know my opinion. I stated very well, but I just want to be very clear. Yes, you can go to Riverside Library, Grinton, or Nodine. They will print your ballot regardless of where you live in Yonkers. So there you go. You can go to any of those places. Make sure you do that. So, folks, there you have it. That's Ron Mattins. What do you think of that? What do you think of his opinion? Is he spot on? Is he way off? Is he just an angry guy? Like some anonymous messages have sent me, right? Is he, I don't know. But the mayor is being endorsed by the Yonkers Times. We endorse Mayor Mike Spano for re-election. At a time we see when we see instability in the world and dysfunction in Washington, D.C. and in Albany, it's clear that Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano has, read more. Mike Spano has been able to work with all Yonkers residents to move New York's third largest city forward. Based on Spano's ability to control crime, improve education, and bring smart development that also provides affordable housing, we endorse Mike Spano for re-election. Again, this is Yonkers Times. When necessary to protect the people of Yonkers, Spano has stood up to people in his own party, like he did when he expressed his opinions on the need to change bail reform and change raise the age legislation, or when the city recently sued New York City and the mayor, Adams, for housing migrants in Yonkers Hotel without paying occupancy tax to the city. So was it being sued because of the migrants being here or because they're not paying the occupancy tax? We need that money. Stability and trust on critical issues like crime, education, taxes, and development are the reason why the people of Yonkers trust Spano to continue to serve. Yonkers is the safest large city in New York State and the 8th safest in the United States. Graduation rates continue to climb in Yonkers public schools, and with development has come affordable housing required with each project. Mayor Spano has also kept his budgets under the tax cap for 11 or 12 years. The financial condition of the city is the best it has been in many years. The issues of term limits is also a part of this election. Spano is seeking a fourth 4-year term after the council made the change last year. When we speak to the people in our travels around Yonkers, delivering Yonkers Rising, very few put term limits at the top of their list. Crime, education, and taxes are the 3 issues we hear about most. Overall, the people are satisfied with Spano's performance and the results as mayor. They trust his judgment, his demeanor, and his management of the city with no drama. Now, that I don't know about. Have you seen some of those meetings with Tasha Diaz? The overall quality of life for the people in Yonkers has improved over the past 12 years, and unlike other communities, Yonkers has not seen problems with crime or other quality of life issues. Yes, Yonkers has its share of problems. They backtracks there, right? Like every other city. But overall, Mike Spano has done something most elected officials can't do: govern in a bipartisan manner and put the interests of the people first. Spano's opponent is Republican Councilman Anthony Merante. Merante has run an active campaign and should be commended for giving the voters a choice. He should be commended also for, being a real Republican, and also for running on the restored term limit line and champion for that, for all people, bipartisan, right, who want to see term limits returned to 2. Merante has served in the council as a fiscal watchdog, and we look forward to him continuing in that role. During the last debate, Merante pointed to his achievements as taking down trees and filling potholes. While these are good accomplishments for a council member, actually, I did some of that too, we had hoped for more of a vision for the city. We thank Merante for the opportunity to highlight his campaign, but Mayor Spano has proven himself to the voters as an effective, reasonable leader of New York's third largest city. His overall interest in the people of Yonkers. We see the future of Yonkers in stable hands with the re-election of Mike Spano. So there you go. What do you folks think about that? It's time to change Yonkers. It's time for changing Yonkers. 12 years is enough. When our city council member called constituents beggars and no word from the mayor on that. Yeah, remember that drama. That was a whole bunch of drama there, right? So Jose Diaz, Anthony Merante right there, and Debbie Kozak, the Republican candidates running for office this election. You can vote for them if you so choose. Debbie Kozak is challenging or running against Shanae Williams because she's not actually the incumbent. The incumbent resigned thanks to, Shanae Williams. Well, he also had his housing scandal. That was Chris Johnson. So I believe that Simmer Brandon is keeping the seat warm while we await to see who will be the winner of that election. Shanae Williams versus Debbie Kozak. Now, Shanae Williams has somewhat of a track record, right? Because she's been a councilwoman. So you can go back to see what she's actually done. She represents District 1. That's where all the revitalization or gentrification is happening, depending on what word you choose to describe the changes. Shanae Williams, in my opinion, should not be elected to the county. Not that I dislike her. It's not personal. I hope they don't get personal with me, but truthfully, we need change. And the people that manage Shanae Williams are not people that should be involved in politics, whether in Yonkers or Westchester or elsewhere. But we'd prefer elsewhere so we don't have to deal with it. And so we need to get away from those individuals, shake those individuals off our city government and our county government. Jose Diaz, again, running for Board of Legislators, District 17 against Jose Alvarado, who's been a county legislator for that district for quite some time. He was the legislator for District 17 in the early 2000s. Then he became city clerk here in the city of Yonkers. That's right. Before he ended up having to leave for double dipping. He was working as the city clerk and also had a job with White Plains Hospital. So they moved him over to the Parks Department, where he's the director of recreation. He's also the county legislator of District 17. Again, Jose Alvarado is a no-show official. He's not in the community unless it's, some political event where they want to, get attention. They want to get some press. But it's not for the people who are in need, who are having to deal with their rents going up, who are having to deal with the crime in that district. one of the highest crime areas of Yonkers. The business owners suffer. Literally, I have to pull people out of their businesses who are disrupting their businesses. Where's Jose Alvarado? But Jose Diaz is in the community. It's time for change. Jose Diaz may not be the most experienced politician, but what does that exactly mean here in Yonkers? If you've been in politics here in Yonkers or in the county representing a huge part of Yonkers or all of Yonkers like Jose and Chris Johnson, District 16, what does that exactly mean? Does it mean that they are very knowledgeable and have done a great job? Or does that mean that they know how to maneuver through the snakes, keep themselves afloat, sustain their career? And that's not by being the best representative of the people. So we need someone who's going to want to represent the people and not simply want to remain in office. And again, this is not personal to Jose Alvarado, but I know a lot of information, things that are not necessarily appropriate for the podcast, but tells me a lot about an individual and why it's time for change. And Jose Diaz is that guy. And he's so passionate that he wants to do county and city issues. And he may talk about both. But that's not because he's not the right person for the job. That's because he cares about what's happening in the city of Yonkers and the county, which is where Yonkers is located. And they do have, an effect on each other. And we need someone that's in the county that's going to care about the schools, even though that's a city issue, because we don't have many people in the city caring about the schools. And so we need to vote honest and genuine people who are passionate about representing the people and creating change that's going to be better for the people, not better for themselves. And that's Jose Diaz. Anthony Merante, running on the restored term limit line. The first true candidate, people say, that Mayor Spano has had to actually campaign against. He's putting a lot of his own money in it. Very little of it is coming from donations. He wants to really stress that he's not influenced by special interests, by developers, by anyone that does not have an interest in the people of Yonkers, making change in the city of Yonkers that will benefit the people. That's what he wants to do. That's why he drives his own car, right? He wants to say, look, I'm not taking a city vehicle. I have my own vehicle, right? So that's another one of his, points that he makes, right? City vehicles. We need to, take away a lot of these city vehicles, right? And that did happen when Mike Spano came in. A lot of the city vehicles were taken away, and I guess they were redistributed. So you have to come out and vote. You have to. You're the difference maker. Ultimately, the people, the voters, right? You have to come out and vote. Tasha does as she's pleased. She's managed by precision strategy. She does as she's pleased. That is correct. So I wanted to go back to this article here. I'm not going to go over the article, but this is on the Lakeisha Collins Bellamy article and the nepotism. So, the individual is not her nephew. I'll be honest, I'm not, here to lie and make things up about people, regardless, and I don't dislike the city council president. I don't, I'll talk to her, with a lot of respect. And, and it was really important for me to know that, she understood that the little black puppet comment was not me calling her a little black puppet, because that's not how I want to, that's not the type of person I am, really. Like, I could dish it back to those who dish it, but I don't just go around insulting people, especially in that way. And so, it was a point I was trying to make, and I stand by that point, right? I'm not backpedaling from the point, but I wanted to be clear that that's not what I was saying she was, or what I thought, or that was my opinion of her, but, I have respect for her as a woman, as a person, as a human being. And so I just wanted to talk about this and some of the comments that are on here because, I think they're kind of, important little, talk about what's going on here, specifically with Tasha Diaz, because I'm hearing that this is the reason for this article, right? Because of, the whole Tasha Diaz, the contract that she tried to push through for her campaign manager, Frank Jarris. And, they're saying that it's not necessarily for the abstaining of the vote on Tuesday for the appointment of Christian G. Lodge to the zoning board, but also and more so for the contract scandal that came to light, right? They're saying that it was the city council president who kind of blew it up and who had it removed from the agenda. And so I can see that, right? I could definitely see that. And so, I can look, ultimately they have to sit down and discuss what's going to be on the agenda, right? So you're telling me when they sat down, they didn't know who's that company. They didn't ask who's the owner of this company, what's the background, what's the history of this company, right? I mean, it's your campaign manager, Tasha Diaz, and your attorney swore in that campaign manager to a part-time city job. So how does he not know this? This is not unbelievable, right? But they're trying to say, well, they caught it. That's their job. But who caught it, right? And how did it get on there to begin with? That's what needs to be investigated. It's not, at that point, okay, they didn't go through with it, right? The contract wasn't awarded. So that crime wasn't committed, but who put it on there, right? That should be investigated. How did it get on there? Was it the majority leader? Did she try to slip one through or just another one through, right? Did she try, so that should be investigated, because if that's the case, and that's wrong. She shouldn't be doing that. And there should be some kind of consequence for that, right? So that wasn't investigated. But I think that the city council president was the one that said, nah, I'm not, I don't want to go through with this, because they know whose company this is now, right? Again, not that long, prior to that meeting, I had spoke about the company. I put it out there that Frank Jarris has a new company. It's called ACES, Consulting and Communications, or something like that. Communication and Consulting. And so she knew, they watched the podcast, they knew that it was out there. People know, so maybe it's not a good idea. And so there's a pattern now I'm seeing with the city council president as she abstains from the vote on Tuesday. To me, that just, further proves what I'm saying to myself anyway, that, she's kind of trying to back away from some of these things. Like, I don't want to be involved in this stuff. I don't want to be involved in, giving your campaign manager a no bid contract, right? I don't want to be involved in appointing certain individuals to the board simply because their father is donating money, right? It's a campaign donor and he has some, political influence, financial influence, right? And people are starting to see it. They're starting to speak out about it, right? They're becoming more aware about it. Me as an attorney, I don't want to jeopardize that, right? And so then they put this article out. They had the pictures of this guy already. They had these pictures ready, right, for this guy, and they were just waiting for something like this. And so they put it out there. They even go as far as saying that it's her nephew when it's not her nephew, right? But I'm hearing that maybe she may have helped out in getting this person the job, right? Maybe say, hey, can you look out for this person who I know? So now they're painting it as her nephew, and they're trying to not only, make her look bad, make her look like she's a part of nepotism and that she does favors too, right? Like Tasha Diaz doing a favor for her campaign manager, but you also hook your people up, right? Look at you. And then they also targeted her husband, right? This is what they do. They'll target your spouse, like they've done to me and their careers, right? So they're talking about his work history, where he's currently working and employed at with the Westchester County Corrections. And it's also a message. Your husband wants to be a Yonkers police officer. Well, maybe we can stop that for these reasons here, for his, issues at his previous job, or the fact that he's out a lot, or he's on injury, a lot. So that's a message that they're sending to them, and even in the comment, it says, you mess with the bull, by an anonymous commenter, you get the horns. And so Tasha Diaz, she's mean, and it's her team, and she will do anything. As somebody says, she tries to get away with anything. So I want to just talk about this because, again, this is what it came out for, in order to distract from the fact that there was this contract scandal, right? So people are talking about this. Let me read. I hear Mike Cater's making an announcement after the election. That's something I want to talk about. Is Mike Cater going to be doing something? I don't know. Where the supervisor at, right? Where the supervisor at? Again, this is this guy, sleeping. Well, what's interesting to me is that his supervisor is the mother of Tasha Diaz's campaign manager. So the guy she was trying to give a no-bid contract to, his mom is this guy right here, his supervisor. Did she take the pictures? Because only another employee could have taken these pictures. So did she take these pictures, hold on to them, give them to her husband, who is Zahi Jarris? He manages, along with his son Frankie Jarris, manages the campaigns of Tasha Diaz, Shanae Williams, Deanna Robinson, James Nolan, I believe, and even helped out, if not managed, the campaign of Lakeisha Collins Bellamy herself. So there's some kind of, obviously trying to go at each other. It's crazy. I can't wait for the audio to come out with Tasha Diaz cursing somebody out, another colleague of hers. I really hope Tasha and Deanna consider running for city council president next year. So this is interesting because, I once in a conversation with Mr. Zahi Jarris, he said he hoped and he'd like to see Tasha Diaz become city council president. And I was like, really? Tasha Diaz? I mean, I guess they can do whatever they want. They made her a councilwoman to begin with. They made her the majority leader. Why not city council president? Hell, maybe even mayor one day. How about that, you beggars? How about that, right? How about that? But yeah, I really hope. And so this is them putting that out there. They're going to do away with Lakeisha Collins Bellamy and make Tasha Diaz the new city council president. Lakeisha Collins Bellamy is not going to be there. I don't think she's going to run for re-election. I think she's had it with politics, especially as she sees this even more. Maybe this is what they want. They want her to say, listen, we just want you out, right? We're not going to want you here no more. You're not, going to do exactly what we like you to do. Agreed. Two strong independent leaders. Tasha can't spell council president, right? So this is all the distraction, I believe, to Tasha. I find it. So look, and then they asked Hezi. So this is the thing. So this is how we know Hezi didn't write this article, right? Hezi, how much is the political machine paying you to print this story? You call this news? Why don't you report on Tasha Diaz? What issue do you have with Miss Diaz, says Hezi, and what political machine do you insinuate is paying me to report? Well, I don't know if this is Hezi. This might not even be Hezi. You are off your rocker. No, probably not. Pity you can only make accusations without a shred of proof. Pictures don't lie. Perhaps you have a better explanation. If so, prove it. Kindly, Hezi. The person in response, I find it a bit suspicious that this is coming out as Councilwoman Tasha Diaz is under scrutiny for allegedly attempting to give a city contract to her campaign manager, who is also a city employee. It's rumored that the council president was angered by such allegations of impropriety as they reflected poorly on the council. Is this a warning shot by the forces that benefit from Tasha Diaz's presence on the council? Is Councilwoman Diaz on thin ice? Is there enough outrage on the and I probably meant Councilwoman Bellamy. Is there enough outrage on the council to possibly whip votes for her removal? Was the aforementioned employee on the clock when these were taken? If he's snapping on his break, who cares? Now let me finish my remarks so I can get some butter chicken. Oh, that's in reference to my butter chicken, sound effects. Thank you, man. See,
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken.
I appreciate you guys. Basement politics, man, we everywhere. Both our county legislators are quiet on city issues when they could be speaking. Now, they should be, especially if they represent a large portion of the city, if not the entire city, their district is entire city. So here, really quick, and I'm going to get into it. Nolan and Walter slug it out in BOL debate. The most closely watched Westchester Board of Legislators race this year is a rematch between legislator James Nolan and former legislator Ruth Walter for the 15th district, right? I'm going to skip a little bit. While legislator Nolan and Walter both expressed their views, accomplishments, and criticism of each other, the debate turned sour, with Walter calling Nolan a MAGA candidate and Nolan saying, I'm not a liar, I'm not a racist, and I'm not an elitist, but my opponent does have that type of pattern. The debate was a difficult one for the LWV Rivertown's to moderate, and on more than one occasion, the moderator told Walter to stop the personal attacks against Nolan. From what I saw, they told both of them. Walter claimed that the so-called personal attacks were legitimate policy differences that the two have, but the moderator called the exchange not a civil debate. It was rather, sad, right? It's very childish, and this is why we need to vote. We got to change politics all up. Check this truck out that was parked probably somewhere where you and I get a ticket, but it was parked there. Right by the FedEx across from the ShopRite on Tuckahoe Road. I saw it on Central Avenue, also in a place that probably you and I get a ticket. But hey, listen, I'm just saying, all right, because I get a ticket, and I don't like that, right? But anyway, this is the debate here. I want to, not play all of it, but I do want to let you hear some of it because I thought it was interesting, and I'll let you judge for yourself. Tell me what you think.
29 years this year to a great guy from Scotland.
Legislator for District 15.
I'm gonna
falling apart, and we deal with it. We deal with many issues we're proud of, such as funding our police, fighting zoning issues, just dealing with quality of life issues. Every day, it's something else. A broken sidewalk that we got to get to the municipality to fix. We have trees that are falling apart, and we deal with it. We deal with many issues, and I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of my record. I have a very strong record, and I look to continue my role, and I look to continue my work. And I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at our first question.
So check this out.
We'll start with Ruth. What do you think are the main issues facing the county, and what makes you uniquely qualified to tackle them?
Thank you so much for that question. So if you look at the endorsements that I have had this year and last term, endorsements from New York League of Conservation Voters, we just went through another huge storm, not as damaging as Ida in 2021, but we have a flood mitigation emergency in this county. I'm also delighted to have the designation as a gun sense candidate because of the work I did on gun violence prevention. And finally, we know that we have to look at public health, not just COVID, but also things like lead in drinking water, PFAS. And it's really important to recognize that the Republican Party is trying to take away rights in New York State for women to access reproductive care. When I was a legislator, I worked on Black maternal health, and we are looking at
Black maternal health. What does that mean? What does reproductive care mean? Reproductive care is basically birth control. Just what they want to say reproductive care, right? It's basically birth control, right? I'm for education, right? Why don't we put more effort, energy, and money, and not to, sidetrack, into educating kids, right? So that there is less need for abortions. I'm not saying that people shouldn't have the right to do what they want, because I'm not opposed. I'm for you should have the right to do as you please, as long as you're not, affecting other people. So I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I don't like the whole abortion thing. I'm not a big fan of that, but it is your right. But why don't we educate kids, people, young adults, right? Those that are, in these situations, because a lot of it is young girls. 15 to 25 is the highest, age group that is getting abortions. And many times they've had one before. So it's, not to get sidetracked. So I'm just saying, like, when people say this, reproductive care, it's really birth control, right? Don't make it sound, like it's, that's what it is. Just call it birth control.
Laws across the country by the Republican Party that is going to increase maternal death and the loss of fertility for millions of women.
By the way, she talks about Black, I'm assuming she's talking about Black women specifically. If you had to pick an option, right, of who is the more likely to have an abortion, right, from, you have a few options, right? The option that would be correct would be a young Black girl. That's more than likely, that's what's going to walk through a one of these abortion clinics. It's going to be a young Black girl between the age of 15 and 25. And it's a big possibility, it's a huge probability that it's her second one. And it's not because she was raped. It's not from incest, right? It's simply because she is having unprotected sex. And they don't want to have the child. And this is just statistics. So, when they, those who are pro-abortion, they like to bring up the young girl who was raped, the incest case. And yes, I'm not saying that's never happened or doesn't happen, but that is the rare time. What's common is a young Black girl between the age of 15 and 25. And it's probably her second time. And what's sad about that is that the Black population compared to that of whites and Hispanics even is very low. But they have the higher rate. And so she's not talking about going into the Black communities and educating young Black girls and also young Black men. And we understand that there's a reason why we see this a lot in these communities. And it's not just Blacks, it's Hispanics as well and whites. But we see this a lot in impoverished communities, right? Where young girls are being more promiscuous. They may not have dad around to set examples. The men may also not have fathers, so they don't know how to be fathers either. They want to run away from their problem. And so we need more education and more, training for men in these communities. So not only they can take care of themselves, but they can take care of any child that they may bring into this world, because I'm sure, that's a difficult decision. And my wife, who as a social worker has had to go many times with a young girl in a middle school, and not here in Yonkers, but in a middle school, to go get an abortion because by law, they can go without letting their parents know. And so they wouldn't want to tell their parent. So the next best person to go with them was my wife. And she had to respect that confidentiality, although she was like, man, the parents should know. This is, and so it's sad. And a lot of times, they become traumatized by it, right? And she actually ran into a girl who had an abortion while at the middle school, who was older now in college. And she was happy. She was saying, I'm in college now and stuff, which is, good. She had an abortion, but at least she actually, went to college and was doing the right thing. But she did say this to my wife: I still think about that baby. So think about that trauma, that emotional trauma, that even though they have the abortion, that they still go through. So we should really think about education and finding another way.
My opponent voted against the Safe Clinic Access Bill, and he said that the pro-life people felt canceled. And I'll tell you, 6 days after the Dobbs decision, Mr.
That's
Nolan,
true.
the pro-life people were celebrating, but the rest of America was not. And we need to make sure that these local laws now, we used to say that choice was not a local issue. It is now, because the Republicans are going to go after New York state protections, including gun.
That's fear mongering, fear mongering. New York State, that would never happen in New York. New York is way too liberal and democratic for that to ever be overturned, so I don't ever see that being a problem. And that's just fear mongering tactics. I don't think the Republicans will ever have that much power here. Anything's possible, but I doubt it. And I doubt that, James Nolan is going to have any impact on having that be changed. And that's no disrespect to Nolan.
I would like a rebuttal, please.
Well, you have the same question,
He gets the same question that he wants the rebuttal.
actually, too. So why don't you first answer that same question? Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I know the question.
Okay.
So we have a crime issue. The bail reform on the New York State level has made it very difficult for people to even feel safe or walk on our streets and not be assaulted or even worse. So crime has always been an issue. We need to make sure we fund our police. We have a failing infrastructure, and that infrastructure has been a priority to me since I've been elected. Quality of life issues. Every day I deal with different things that come my way. We have affordability issue that, there are quite a few Democrats in this board of legislators that feel that we could just spend. And, it's easy to do that when it's not their money. We need to make sure that we help protect people's pockets. And Ms. Walter, I like how you constantly bring up things that I put out a statement about. I put out a statement because the decision that was made for the clinic access was illegal. It was proven twice on the Supreme Court that you cannot step up and stop somebody from speaking out or praying. Okay, it was a violation of the First Amendment, which the Supreme Court has also ruled in twice from Massachusetts, and Colorado, where Ruth Ginsburg was also the one that decided that she was going to put forward the statement and say we cannot infringe on someone's public, public speech, freedom of speech. So if you're going to speak on my record, make sure to speak the truth, because apparently you just have a constant behavior and a pattern of lying and putting out false statements. Thank you.
Stop, James. I just threw the applause in there just for the dramatization of it all. He really got a little bit, passionate there, right? He put some emotion into that toward the end there. And I like that you're talking about freedom of speech, James, because, they're trying to censor us here in Yonkers and all over the world, but they're definitely trying to censor me here in Yonkers and not allow people to hear the information. So maybe you can help out with that. But he talks about quality of life, crime, and affordability. We all agree. We definitely all agree, James, but we don't hear you talking about that a lot here in Yonkers, right? The quality of life, we have some issues with that. There's a lot of homelessness all over Yonkers now, and you are a county guy, so that is something you guys deal with, I believe, right? That's a county issue. And so we're seeing the quality of life also disrupted by all the noise and the construction and the crowds and the traffic, right? We're seeing drug addiction, quality of life. Yeah, drug addiction, right? We're seeing prostitution in some areas, like in District 17, Jose Alvarado's district. Talk to your homeboy over there. Well, he's not your homeboy, but now you guys are homeboys, right? You guys, same team, different parties. Talks about crime. Yeah. So, where is this mentioned in Yonkers and the crime here in Yonkers that has been going up? People are saying that crime is going up, but our elected officials here try to tell us, it's not. And granted, it's going up everywhere. Yes, it is. But we are focused here in Yonkers. So do something about it here in Yonkers. And affordability. Housing costs are going up. There is a need for affordable housing, but even the ones that are being built are not even affordable as rents continue to go up and up and up. And we haven't heard that from James Nolan much, right? Not here in Yonkers. I haven't seen him talk about affordable housing in Yonkers or anywhere in the county, but he mentions it. He mentions affordable, maybe unless he's talking about other affordability, right? Not housing. Maybe when you go to the grocery store, right? Is that what kind of affordability he's talking about? So listen to them as they go at each other a little bit here.
I'd like a rebuttal, please.
You have 30 seconds.
So I didn't say anything that wasn't true. I think my opponent has that MAGA habit of calling names. I can read to you from a tweet that he wrote in July of this year. But really, it's about the issues that matter most to the people living in this district and not about name calling. This is not a schoolyard. You can't be a bully. And it's really disingenuous for you to say things like lying, racist, socialist, elitist. Karen has to continue her disgusting behavior. I think this is inappropriate. It's inappropriate for an elected official, and it's inappropriate for somebody that has already served in office.
Sorry, man. I turned the mic off. I apologize. I was thank you. I was talking about the fact that the name calling, right? He calls a Karen an elitist and a racist, and the reason why he calls her a Karen is because she called the cops on Reggie Lafayette's son. Reggie Lafayette was the former chair of the Westchester Democratic Party, who has since passed away, and her son. His son, I say, at one point was working for her campaign. He was handing out campaign literature along with his crew, right? And he didn't get paid. But that's not her job. She's not the treasurer. So it could very well be that she didn't know that he wasn't paid, but he was upset. And with his dad, Reggie Lafayette, they drove up to Bronxville from Mount Vernon, and he went into her shop demanding that he be paid. And so she felt threatened, and she called the police. And so he said, that's her being racist. It's because I'm a black guy and I walked into her store, and she automatically assumed that I was a threat, a physical threat. But I've met this guy, I spoke to this guy, and I'm not saying that he was, but I can see how she would have perceived it, because a Puerto Rican from the hood perceived you as a possible threat as well when you came up to me, right? And maybe it was the gold teeth, maybe it was, the talk, what I'm saying, the, almost aggressive tone, a bit loud. So I could imagine how Ruth Walter, a white woman from Bronxville must have felt, right? Was that racist? I don't know. People have built-in stereotypes, it's just how it is. We all do. Let's, be honest. But I don't think that was worthy of calling her a racist. And I think that, he could have been aggressive in wanting his money. People don't play around with their money, especially from the streets, right? So he calls her a racist and an elitist because she lives in Bronxville. She has money, I guess, and she sells expensive cheese. So what does she do? Call him MAGA, call him a bully, right? And other names here, but like I was saying, MAGA is like the way to insult the Republican, or to make a Republican look bad, or to scare you away from voting for a Republican. He's MAGA. He supports Donald Trump. Trump is a racist. Blah 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 blah. Right? That's nonsense, right? I'd rather support Trump over Biden. I'm just saying, just Biden. Like I said, I'm starting to believe he's a clone that's malfunctioning, like they say on the internet.
Rebuttal, please.
There's no, I'm sorry to say there's no opportunity to rebut a rebuttal.
But there should be an opportunity, because she did respond to something I said.
I understand, James, but these are the league's rules. And I'm only here to enforce them. I didn't make them. You certainly can address what you'd like in your closing statement later on. But moving on, the second question, which James, you'll go first. What is the major difference between you and your opponent?
Well, her behavior is just sad, to say the truth about her. I like to be honest. I like to work hard. I earn my living. Every day I put forward best interests of the people. I go out there and I conduct myself in a respectful manner. I work hard for the people of Westchester County, regardless of parties. Just because I'm a Republican conservative doesn't mean I just represent Republican conservatives. I represent everybody. And you know what? Listen, let's be honest. I am not a liar. I am not a racist. I am not an elitist. But based on behavior, my opponent does have a behavior of that pattern. When she did what she did to Reggie Lafayette's son, when she poked at my brother who was murdered 2 years ago and referenced my family several times, how she has tagged me being a sanitation worker, saying I am double dipping and I should give back my paycheck. I'm sorry I cannot marry into money. I'm sorry I cannot live in a multi-million-dollar home, but I am not sorry that I work every single day for my family, for my community, and for my district. Thank you.
So she accused him of double dipping. Some people have also said that to me about James Nolan. Remember they caught Jose Alvarado double dipping as city clerk and working at the White Plains Hospital. He's a councilman. He's a county legislator. He works for sanitation, the DPW. He was once caught voting while on the back of a truck. I guess he was holding on and also had his phone. And he was in a meeting and somebody actually recorded it, right? And they were making fun of it and saying how dangerous that was for him to be, at a meeting or on a Zoom meeting while in the back of one of the garbage trucks, right? But I guess that's how dedicated he is to his job. James does work hard. I've seen him myself. I actually ran into him and his crew once on Mulberry Street, working hard. He was working just as hard as the other guys. So, I will give him that. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I don't have any issues with James Nolan. I don't see that, Ruth Walter is going to be super, better and much different, and that we definitely should vote for her. I say keep giving. And look, and the people that manage James Nolan, I don't like them, right? I don't get along with them. They're suing me for money, but that doesn't mean I have to hate James Nolan,
Okay, to our next question. Ruth, your answer first. How do you
excuse me.
Yes?
Did you ask me the question? What's the difference between us?
Oh, I apologize. I did not. I apologize.
She wants to make sure she's clear to tell you what the differences are.
Major difference between you and your opponent? Again, my apologies.
So my opponent really has a thin record of achievement in the last 2 years. The one thing he continues to harp on is the Bronxville Lake Bridge, which is still not fixed 2 years later. But when you look at his heroes, the people that he looks up to, Ron DeSantis, Lee Zeldin, Mike Lawler, Donald Trump, these are not the heroes of the majority of voters in this district or in Westchester County. There are 17,500 Democrats in this district and only 10,500 Republicans. And I'm appealing to Democrats, unaffiliated, and non-Trump Republicans to return me to the seat so that I can do the work that the people really want. They don't want the name calling. They don't want the distraction and the constant criticism. I mean, Mr. Nolan can't say it's Wednesday without criticizing me. Everything he says is a criticism of me. And by the way, Rob Astorino left all the parks in ruin, including Lenoir Preserve, and he kept Spring Ridge Pool closed for 7 years. So if that's your hero and you were out campaigning for him, Mr. Nolan, I'm not sure how you can take credit for the George Latimer administration who is fixing the Bronxville Bridge and who opened the Spring Ridge Pool.
I would like a rebuttal, please.
Just warning both of you that you each only get 2 rebuttals through the whole debate. But if you would like that, James, go right ahead.
Okay, well, let's talk about a little bit of history about the bridge. When Sandy occurred, Ms. Walter was a legislator in 2021. When I stepped into office in January, there were no plans in place because she was too busy trying to fight to keep her seat. When I stepped into office, I went to the county executive in a bipartisan manner because that's what it's about. And I asked, I need this bridge replaced for the constituents of Westchester County that I represent. With that being said, the plans were approved in April. So originally, this bridge was washed out under her term. I had to clean up the mess once again for Ms. Walter because she was too busy with her political agenda. And you know what? You want to talk about, your idols? Let's talk about Jamal Bowman.
It says stop. It says stop.
Don't interrupt and I'm finishing my sentence. So maybe you should follow rules for once as well.
Excuse me, I have to warn both of you. I did say in my opening remarks that we do require civility in this. So personal attacks, really, please.
Hey, listen, let's be honest.
Don't just limit them. Please eliminate them.
National politics. My opponent constantly feels that he's running for Congress and not county legislator. So
excuse me.
Let's keep it.
We also reserve the right to cut off your microphone.
Oh, shoot.
If you interrupt. So please, let's lower the tone here.
Whoa.
Now we're on to question number 3. And this time we will start with Ruth. And again, my apologies for getting out of order. How do you define
affordability?
Absolutely.
What's going on with affordability? We need to make sure that jobs are created and more affordable and people actually bring in the income. Like, for instance, I actually voted yes on the Board of Elections parking lot being converted to senior housing and affordable housing. And I was proud of that. I also made sure to put in that job should have a PLA in place for union support and union work. There's many instances that, I personally feel that we need to get back to, not only renting these apartments, but, selling houses as well. Yonkers has done a great job. Both parties have done a great job, making sure that affordability has gone first, and they've also done, we need to lead by example and see what they have done as well. I've talked to both sides of the party, and they have done and led by example, but not everybody could do what Yonkers have done, and I have made sure that the zoning problem has not occurred here in Westchester County, so we can actually develop more affordable housing. We need to make sure that higher levels of government don't implement zoning changes and let the municipality take advantage and do what they need is best.
Thank you. Question 4, James, you go first.
Sure.
The Beeline bus was free.
So what
for
do you
the
think
summer,
about
but
James's
is-
answer on affordability? He says we need jobs, we need more affordable living. He voted yes to turn a parking lot in White Plains into a senior affordable housing, and that they should look to Yonkers as an example because I'm sorry, he was totally trying to big up the Yonkers politicians, obviously those that are in office now who are running for re-election, right, by saying that Yonkers has done a great job adding more affordable housing. But that just depends on who you ask. That depends on the information you have, right? And who's telling you that information, right? Because there's still a huge housing issue. A lot of people are struggling to find affordable living places. Rents are continuing to go up, even in the usually affordable areas because they were the higher crime areas, the more impoverished areas. They're seeing rents going up as investors are beginning to buy up those properties as well. And people are having to move out. So affordability is has not really improved in Yonkers. There's a perception of that, but it's not. In fact, today as I was driving, that's just how loud they were talking. I was up Ashburn and I was stopped at the light and these women were talking about finding a place to live that they could afford. And then they were talking about some new apartment buildings that were being built. And I think you could get a 1-bedroom for $1,500 there. You better hurry up and go apply. This is what I'm hearing. This is the talk on the streets. People are trying to scramble to find affordable living, even in Yonkers, James. And I think maybe you should come and talk more about that right here in Yonkers. You talk about jobs. Well, the people in Yonkers are not seeing these jobs that were promised, James. Maybe you should come here and talk about that. Many people, many people are in need of jobs here, and they haven't brought any. In fact, you talk about union work. Well, a lot of the construction that's going on here is non-union. A lot of, not all, pretty much, are the developments are non-union, and they're not going to people from Yonkers or Westchester, but they're receiving huge tax breaks, James, and that's a problem because they're taking tax money away from the city and even the county, but they're not producing any jobs for the people of the county anyway, people of Yonkers, or even jobs that are being sustained. They may bring 300 construction jobs, but out of those jobs that were brought in, they go to people from outside of the county, outside of Yonkers, then they're done, and only 2-3 of those jobs are retained. So they're not really bringing in a lot of jobs. They're making it appear that way so they can get all kinds of, tax incentives, right? IDAs, even the county has an IDA, right? The Westchester County IDA. So that's not necessarily true. A lot of union work, a lot of unions, or I should say a lot of the work being done is not union work, James, here in Yonkers especially, and you're a union guy, you should, I know that you support unions, but they're not getting the jobs. Why are the new projects in Yonkers being constructed with non-union labor? Check out Alexander Street. All of them are pretty much non-union. And that's the deal that these developers were making. We need the tax breaks. We can't have any more than 10% affordable housing ordinance. And we have to go non-union. That's just how it is. That's the deal that the politicians made with them. Right. And at first the unions were upset. They protested once over there in Ravine, the local 456, the Teamster guys. I went over there and met them. They were upset. And then that dissipated. That went away. And next thing you know, I see the guy that was on my podcast at the State of the City address mingling with those that he was upset at one point, right? So that's how it works. You know how that go. You know how that go. The income threshold for all affordable housing is based off the county average income, not the Yonkers average income. 110, 100. Who are these apartments for? 1,000%, and that's been one of the debates, right? The AMI, right? The average medium income. Is that what it is? And so Shanae Williams spoke about that a lot, right? And for those who don't know, that's basically when they do the income scale for the affordable apartments. They base it on the medium average income for all of Westchester County, which causes it to be higher than if it was just based on Yonkers, because Westchester County is one of the richest counties in the country, not just the state, but in the country. In fact, then you have cities or towns or villages like Scarsdale, Bronxville, Eastchester, Larchmont, very wealthy areas. People pay high taxes there. So that drives up the average, income, and so you're going to be seeing that in Yonkers also, because as higher income earners come here, right, that's going to drive the average income here in Yonkers also. Shanae Williams is one of the individuals who will always talk about that when it came to affordable housing. Well, we should base it on the Yonkers and it's not fair. Well, now if she gets elected to become the, legislative representative for a county legislative representative for District 16, an area that, is really being affected by these developments, let's see if she says anything about this. But I'm hearing actually the AMI is not set by the county. It's based on the county AMI, but it's not set by the county or the state. That's actually set by HUD, the federal agency, the Housing and Urban Development. They actually set the AMIs and they have that. But is she going to go up to the county and say something about this? Is she going to do it? No, probably not, right? But you're right, and the average person in Yonkers, not household income, makes $35,000 a year. The average household income is $70,000, somewhere between 65 and 70,000. But these apartments require that you have an average household income of 150,000, more than double what the average household income in Yonkers is. So when you look at that, you're saying, okay, but why would you bring in apartments here that we are not going to be able to qualify for? Whether you're in affordable housing or you don't qualify, you're just going in there and say, I want a market rate apartment. Well, you only making $70,000. You can't afford your average household income was only $70,000. We can't rent you the apartment. So then who, like you say, who is it for? If the average person in Yonkers or a household is not going to be able to get one of them. Right. So, that you have to think about that. So it would make more sense to bring apartments that, okay, we have an average household income of 70,000. This is how much, they could afford a month. These are the type of, apartments we need. We need apartments at this price point. Right. So how can we do that? Right. And then also, how can we get them to bring in jobs that will actually go to the people of Yonkers? Right. And is Lionsgate going to hire Yonkers people to be on the production set, editors, cameramen, extras, movie stars, what's going on with that? Because that's an industry that's super difficult to get in. That's like saying, hey, we're going to put a bunch of lotto stations all over Yonkers and you guys can play it anywhere you at, right? That's how we're going to hope that you make money. Might as well be, because getting a job in this movie industry, you have to get into that union. It's not easy. Right? And a lot of guys, studios and people, production companies that already have their crews, these studios are mostly going to be rented out, right, to different production companies that may have deals with Lionsgate. So they'll say, okay, come here. We're working on a movie together, but it's some small production company. They didn't hire their people. They know who they want. They're not going to say, oh, let's bring your Yonkers crew. There is no such thing as a Yonkers crew. They come in from all over with the different production crews that need to use these studios to do their filming for whatever reason. Maybe the studios here will have a certain set that's unique that they can't go anywhere else and they have to come here to film it. But then they're gone. So that's the reality of it. There's not going to be massive jobs, right? This is for the political elite, right? For those who have businesses who, and are wealthy, maybe those who are working in the city. That's it. It's not for the people of Yonkers that live in Yonkers and work in Yonkers, that are from Yonkers, right? It's not. It's not for the average person. That's just the reality. Why are there no local hiring requirements placed into the development contracts? Because that would just be, something that they wouldn't want to do, because they know that it's not going to, It's like I'm a developer. You can't force me to hire people from it's not going to work for me. I already know who I'm going to hire. I already got my shit set up. Excuse my language. I already got my whole game plan here, right? So I'm not going to do that. We got to train. Think about this, right? You think they're just going to come in here and then hire people from Yonkers? How are they going to do that? You have to train the people. It's a process. You have to first scout the people, right? Find the people, train the people. That's going to take too long. They don't have that time. They come in here, they got a bill, so they know who they got. They got the crews, they got the companies, they got it already. There's no such thing as hiring people from Yonkers to do this because that doesn't make sense. That wouldn't make financial sense. That wouldn't make sense in time-wise, right? It makes sense that they would come and bring people from outside of the Yonkers because these are companies that are from outside of Yonkers that are doing the work. Right. So that was a lie right there. Right. So what jobs are you talking about specifically that were being brought here? Which jobs? It's not construction jobs because that's impossible. Unless you're hiring local companies, Yonkers companies or county companies, which has not been the case. Right. But so which jobs are being brought here for the people of Yonkers? There is none. Do you see what I'm saying? There is none. Right? There is none. Maybe you could work for the city. You could work for one of the businesses here. Quite possibly you could start your own business, right? But there is none. There is none coming here. And no movie studio jobs. Forget that. Put that, your chance of being in the movie industry, right, has not increased much because Lionsgate is here, right? That it hasn't changed much, right? It's not going to be beneficial because again, they have their whole crew. Speaking of the state of the city, where's the new library branch that Spano promised? Haven't heard anything since that speech. Oh, I didn't even know that. That I did not know. The residents got lied on that and that they did. I mean, it's about telling you something now so you could feel good, right? And you could be pacified, right? Pacify you, as we say, rocking you to sleep, in the streets before we put you to sleep, right? So now you're going to get put to sleep, you're going to get pushed out. That's what that means. And so they pacify people, right? The council members just tell you something, but that's not true, right? They'll sell it to you a certain way. They spin words. For example, bringing more affordable housing. Yeah, but they don't tell you that a lot of the affordable housing that has been brought to Yonkers is senior affordable housing, right? It's affordable housing technically, right? But they leave out the senior affordable housing because that sounds better to more people, right? Unless they want to talk specifically about that senior project. But a lot of the senior developments, when they talk about housing, I should say affordable housing, it's a lot of senior apartments that have been brought here or are being brought to Yonkers. And why is that? Because a lot of seniors own homes and they want to see those seniors sell those homes and go into those affordable apartments. That's the goal. A lot of properties that are being held by elderly people here in Yonkers. You see them, you go drive, the grass is high, the house. A lot of homes are like that in Yonkers, have not been fixed because the people are older or the home was just passed down to their kids and, and they're living there, but they may not have the means to, fix it all up, right? And then they're getting older, so they'll sell it, they go into a senior place. So that's the goal. Mulford Gardens, they knocked it down, 500 units. They came back with over 100, a little over 100. So just under 400 units were not put back. So they're reducing the affordable housing, right, and low-income housing, right? And so where did those families go? Remember, there's still land there where there were Mulford apartments that's now still grass. They're actually showing they're going to do a new development there, right? But where did those families go? Why do you think they shuffled up the lottery, right? They did the people already on the line, but then they redid the lottery, right? Some people were getting vouchers to go out of Yonkers. They weeded the people that they wanted to keep in these apartments. So those that they wanted to keep based on their rental history, the way they kept the apartments and stuff like that, they gave them vouchers where they could only stay in Yonkers. The ones they wanted out of Yonkers, they gave them vouchers to go out, whether it be upstate or even down south. Right? So that's what they were doing. Okay. And the reason why they did that also is because a lot of the affordable housing and low-income housing developments, like 220, like the Mulford Gardens, where now they're called Grant Park 2 or whatever. Those are all now privately owned. There's private management companies that run them. These are investors that are coming in, buying them up. And so they're renovating them. So, and they want to keep certain people out of them and certain people in them, right? So they don't mess them up. And their hope is to eventually go market rate, right? They're going to keep raising the rent. They're going to hope that Section 8 or the government continues to fund these increases. And when they don't, and they stop giving them the tax breaks that they say they need in order to continue to provide these apartments at an affordable rate to people who qualify for affordable housing, stop. They're going to go all market because they're going to say we can't afford to keep them affordable for the folks if we don't get the tax breaks, if we don't get those vouchers increased. And we're going to have to go market rate. And so we're going to have to sell it off to a private company, right? Because it's now under in a nonprofit, but really by private investors who create a nonprofit. And then they'll sell it to their for-profit company. Still the same people. It's just a different entity that's for-profit. They'll go market rate. And when that point comes, Yonkers will be completely different, but that's the actual plan. So those affordable apartments that they have now, those are temporarily going to be like that. Eventually, they're going to raise up the rents. They're going to stop giving them the tax breaks that they promised, and they're going to have to go market rate. And that's what they want. That's the goal. So either way, the developer gets the tax breaks and all these vouchers and federal program and all that money and grants, and that's how they make their money. And when that stops, they go market rate, kick you guys out, and now they got the people that can afford it. I'm Freddie Vasquez, folks. This is Basement Politics. Remember, early voting began today. Make sure you go out and vote. It's very important to vote. That is how we create change. But we must come out and we need to make sure we increase the volume of voters this election, right? It's been low voter turnout. That hurts us, right? That hurts us. That benefit those who do nothing and remain in office. And so we have to get those folks out. Again, Jose Diaz is a guy that I'm supporting all the way through. And I hope that you folks up in Park Hill, Nodine Hill, Ludlow Park, Getty Square, some of Riverdale that are in District 17, make the choice for change. Elm Street, Linden, Walnut, all you folks out there who are voting, make sure you vote. Vote for Jose Diaz. Jose Diaz, right? District 17, Board of Legislators. Again, Mayor race Anthony Merante is challenging the incumbent, Mike Spano. Go out and vote. If you don't like the way things are, you have to go and vote for change. You can't just complain about it, right? And that's just how it is, folks. Anyway, I'm Freddie Vasquez. I'm up out of here. It's for my Latinos. That's encouraging people to vote. There's a song called Levántate Pueblo. Means come out. People of the town, the city, come out. Wake up town, wake up city. Come out and vote. It's time to, be heard. Vamos a luchar, meaning we're going to fight and we're going to come out and vote. And so I want to encourage all the Latinos, especially because Latinos, we are a large demographic here in Yonkers. And in fact, we could be the majority, right? We could be. And if we're not, we're going to be there very soon. And that means that we have the ability to influence our elections, in a right way, in the legal way, in the way that we see is best, right? To help Latinos and to help all the people in Yonkers, right? But Latinos as a community, if we have certain issues that we want to see addressed and they're not, we have power in our vote, in our unity. We have power and we must come out and vote. Let's exercise that, right? Let's teach our young all about civics and getting involved and how important it is, right, folks?
Vote. Let's go. No matter who you pulling for, nope. You need to vote. Get out, vote. Right. We all got voices. Don't choke. This don't laugh and matter. Kill the jokes. We all got power now. So go and vote. Let go. No matter who you pulling for. Vote now.
Like my little. So I just want to go over this real quick. I want to show this sheet if I can. It just shows the different races that are happening really quick. Oh, now my thing got to freeze up, right? All right. So these are races here, the different things for the Supreme Court Justice, 9 Judicial District. You see the names there. I'll share that here. Where did it go? All right, just disappeared on me. I wanted to show you this list. There's a lot of candidates that are running without opposition. County Court Judge, Westchester, Ann Bianchi, Stephen Dewey, Republican, Colin D. Smith, Joe Torres, District 2, Erica Land Pierce, no one's running against her. District 3, Margaret A. Cunzio, no one's running against her. And then District 4 is an interesting race for, this is Board of Legislators, Westchester Board of Legislators. Vedad Gashi, the incumbent Democrat, also the chair of the board, is being challenged by Dan Branda, the Republican, who was on my podcast, who's talking about corruption, who's talking about unethical, and inappropriate, I guess, behavior among the elected officials within the county and elsewhere. He's specifically speaking on Vedad Gashi, who also has a similar housing scandal to that of Chris Johnson. But Shanae isn't saying anything, are you, Shanae? District 5, Mr. Benjamin Boykin, the second, running all by himself. District 6, Nancy Barr, all by herself, right? District 8, Jewel Johnson, all by himself. That's crazy that there's the elections without two people in it, right? It's an automatic win. District 12, the same thing. District 13, that's Mount Vernon, Tyree Woodson. He took over for Elliot Angle. District 14, we've talked about this, Dave Tubiolo, who doesn't have a campaign really to run, doesn't have an opponent, so he decided to join the reserve and go out of town during the elections to be all he can be. And then District 15, where we talked about Ruth Walter, James Nolan. District 16, Shanae Williams and Debbie Kozak. And District 17, Jose Alvarado is trying to win his reelection campaign. But Jose Diaz is the guy. He's a Latino. He cares. He's passionate. He wants to help. And why is he a Republican? Because he believes that as a Republican, right, that's the party that best suits his, beliefs politically. Does that mean that he is, a Trump supporter? No. Does that mean he's a MAGA guy? No. That means that, like a lot of people, he's tired of the Democrats. A lot of people are tired of the Democrats. And it's time we vote for change. Forget party. Let's vote on the individuals. Because the Democrats here in Yonkers also have not been the best. Anyway, Yonkers, vote for 2. City Court Judge, we have Arthur Doran III, Karen Beltran, and Nick Speranza. It says vote for 2. So why don't we vote for a Democrat and a Republican? Because Arthur Duran III is a Democrat conservative and Karen Beltran is a Democrat conservative. So it should be either one of those two and Nick Speranza, who's a Republican, right? Let's do it that way. That's the best way to do that. So choose between Arthur and Karen and vote for Nick Speranza for City Court Judge in Yonkers. Just telling you what you guys should do. And there you have it, folks. That's about it. Obviously, the mayor is running against Anthony Merante here in Yonkers. Make sure you guys go out and vote. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics.
Everybody, don't forget to vote now.
That's right.
Everybody, get out. Everybody, don't forget to vote now. Everybody, get out to vote now. Hey, everybody, don't forget to vote now. Everybody, get out to vote now.
Vote, 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 vote. If you don't vote, shut your mouth. Vote, 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 vote. If you don't vote, that's pathetic. Vote, 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 vote. If you don't vote, shut your mouth. Vote, vote, vote. Vote for me. If you don't vote, that's pathetic.
Vote, vote, vote. Come on and just vote, vote, vote. It's cool when you vote, vote, vote. Everybody just vote, vote, vote. Who's next? Who's next? You next? She next. He's next. Who's next? I'm next. You next? We next.
Vote. Let's go.
No matter who you pulling for,
Nope.
you need to vote.
Get out. Vote.
We all got voices.
Yeah.
Don't choke. This don't laugh and matter. Kill the jokes. We all got power now.
For real.
So go and vote.
Let go.
No matter who you pulling for,
Nope.
you need to vote.
Get out. Vote.
We all got voices.
Yeah.
Don't choke. This don't laugh and matter. kill the jokes. We all got power now, so go and vote.
Vote.
Everybody,
Vote. If you don't vote, shut your mouth. Vote. If you don't vote, that's pathetic.
I'm Freddie Vasquez. Have a beautiful weekend. Be blessed, be well, and vote. Vote.
No! Come on and just vote. It's cool when you vote. Everybody just vote. Who's next?
Who's next? You next? He's next. He's next. Who's next? I'm next. You next?
We next.
I was raised in housing. 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 I don't think you were.
No!
Nunca tumbarán gobierno. El sufragio es lo que los puede sacar. Vamos, pueblo, no te quedes en silencio. Nuestra fuerza está en el voto popular. No te engañes pensando más tonterías. Han pasado tantos años y al final las promesas se olvidaron en el tiempo, porque el pueblo nunca fue su prioridad. Hoy te debes levantar, hoy levántate pueblo, no te puedes callar, no te quedes en silencio, hoy tienes que luchar pueblo, no puedes desmayar, tienes que echar el resto.